Before I get started, I want to thank my brothers and sisters in the safety forces who have traveled here today to pay respects for Anthony Dia and his family. It's humbling and an honor to see you all here, and I know it means as much to the family as all of us. Again, I want to send my condolences and prayers to Anthony's beautiful wife, Jamie, and those two handsome young men. I can't fathom what you've been going through for the past few days and what you will continue to feel for years to come. But most important, Jamie, I want to say thank you for sharing Anthony with us. We only had him for a short time. In fact, in 12 days, he would have celebrated his 2-year anniversary with us. We've learned through stories, media reports, and through his loving family what an amazing son, husband, father, friend, and police officer Anthony was. And this learning and appreciation will continue as time moves on. And my friends, this was not supposed to happen here. A family is devastated. A city is hurting. My police department is hurting. And we're all trying to understand the whys of this senseless murder. A few days ago, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who is much smarter than me and one of the closest people in my life. We were talking about faith. You know that feeling that you don't see something, you don't understand it, but you know in your heart of hearts there's a reason. God has scripted every moment of our lives until we say goodbye. And I have that faith, and I know the Dia family has that faith as well. We've heard that time and time again today. That morning, Anthony was sent on a check the safety call for service. Just listen to the name of that call, check the safety. He was sent to check the man's safety. All accounts pointed that this person simply had too much to drink. Anthony went there to make sure he was okay. He was there to make sure that he didn't hurt himself or someone else, and Anthony wanted him just to get home. Sadly, he was taken from us by the very man he was trying to help. It doesn't make sense. It was unfair, and it never should have happened. Now, luckily for me, I'm not an elected official, so I can say what I'm about to say. To quote George Orwell, people sleep peacefully in their beds at night only because rough men and women stand ready to do violence on their behalf. Think about that. We take so much for granted in this world. We take it for granted to sleep peacefully in our beds. We take for granted those in law enforcement, like Anthony, who are on the street 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. People forget about those men and women who have made a sacred oath and promise to protect them so others can sleep peacefully in their beds at night. As the mayor said, it takes a special kind of person to do this work, to intentionally put yourself into harm's way. And you know, law enforcement is a balancing act. On this hand, you have to be strong, courageous, tough. And on this hand, you have to be caring, compassionate, loving, and God-fearing. We also must be fearless, unafraid to approach a vehicle with blacked-out windows which could have several armed felons inside, or to run into a burning building to help save a family, or to chase an armed subject into an abandoned building. It is our job to take these wolves off the street. Anthony was all of the above. I spoke with his fellow officers and commanders, and to a fault, they said what an incredible man and police officer he was. Now, for all of us here who are not in law enforcement, you may not understand the reference I'm about to make. Anthony got it. In fact, just bear with me, you're going to hear a little repetition here, but I want to read you what his shift commander, Lieutenant Joe Trudeau, wrote me regarding Anthony. Anthony was the example of a fine officer. He never, and I can say honestly, say the word never, had anything negative to say about anyone or anything. I never saw him with a frown or a bad look on his face. He took every assignment given to him in stride and completed it with the utmost professionalism. He always took time to say hi to people on the street, particularly kids, as he would let them sit in the seat of his police car and turn on the siren, and he would take pictures with anyone asking, as he did a mere 2 hours before he was murdered. The current movement across the United States concerning law enforcement and what type of officer they are deemed is exactly what Officer Dia embodied. I have heard on some calls, for example, transporting a citizen to another destination for their safety. He would call his mother afterward with a heavy concern for the individual, and his mother would even go check on the person to ensure their safety. When I met his family the day after he was killed, I told several of them, and I mean this honestly, if I had 50 Dias on my shift, I would take them all, knowing everything would be done right, with no worries, and we would be a happy shift. I'm proud to say he was on my shift and proud to serve with him. He was truly a great young man that was taken before his time. He has an incredibly strong family who stated to me, and I quote, "He was the happiest he has ever been. This was God's will to take him. He had a plan." Those words are powerful after losing a man of the caliber of Anthony Dia. Finally, I want to assure Jamie and her family that, as the mayor said, you have now 630 adopted brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, snow shovelers, grass cutters, whatever you need, big or small, we are there for you. You're our family. You're part of one big, happy, dysfunctional family, and we will never forget about you. Unit 118 will never be used again by this police department out of respect and honor for Anthony's ultimate sacrifice. Again, I want to thank all of you for coming here today and showing what this community means. It's heartwarming, and I can speak for all the uniformed people here. We will never forget it. Now, I would like to call the Toledo Police Honor Guard, who will now render the final salute.